up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Celtics Talk podcast here on the NBC Sports Boston podcast network. Yes, a fancy-looking background today in the studio, and of course, because the Celtics are on to the second round of the playoffs, we had to bring in the heavy hitters, Brian Scalabrine. All right,
well, I gotta ask, how many times I walked in here, you're like, this is what we do for the big shows. How many times have you done this?
Maybe 4 or 5.
Oh, okay, okay.
It has to be a high-level guest.
Oh.
You know, if it's going to be like another writer friend, then I go and say, hey, we can do this on Zoom. I said, Scal's coming in today. We're busting out the big background. I left practice early. Celtics Bucks.
Yeah.
Just 10,000-foot view. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously I told you guys all season long the Bucks are the most physical team in the Eastern Conference, and we're like catching up. What I saw with my own eyes against Brooklyn, now I get it. Like Brooklyn is not a physical team. They all want to play in space, so it really looked overwhelming. But, it's going to be a bloodbath. And I do expect the Celtics to get off to a good start. Historically, just go back and look, Bucks suck in game one.
Why is that?
I don't know what it is. I have no idea. You go and watch. They almost lost they were awful in game one. They lost game 2 to the Bulls. And they're 35 points better than that team. So I don't get it. Last year in Miami, they had a year where they played Orlando. They just suck in game 1. Phoenix, Brooklyn. I can go on and on and on forever. But I do know this. If you want to say that's a negative, sure. But I've never, go compare what they start at and what they end at. And I also think we weren't very good in game 1 against the Nets. So I think we're going to improve. And I think this series is going to start game 5 in the Garden. And that's where it's going to be the intensity is going to be up. I fully expect it to be 2-2 at that point. Ooh. I actually expect, the Celtics to be up 3-2 going into Milwaukee. And I also expect it to be 3-3 game 7. And I'm hoping that the Celtic faithful, which have done so many times, and the ruckus and whatever it is the difference maker. I thought I go back to that Kyrie and Gordon Hayward team.
Yep.
That game 7 was the fans. They made that happen. LeBron just happened to be ultra special to be able to overcome the dunk and pick apart the Celtics at the end. But I don't know if the Bucks are there to do it. So I'm picking the Celtics to win in game 7 with a game that's a 3-point game in the fourth quarter. That's how close I see it.
Look, 1 and 2 were off the charts in terms of energy. I can't even imagine game 7 of the next round. And my heart could barely take the close games at the end of game 4. It's weird. The Celtics are up 3-0, and I'm sweating because
you were here or you were there?
I was here.
It was not like that.
No, really?
Oh, they did not. Kevin Durant came out and he threw the ball to Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown traveled, and Kevin Durant looks at Ime, who has been talking smack the entire series with that Scal. He was like, that was a travel. I was like, it's over at that point. Hey, believe me, it got close. No, they did not. Irving did not want to get on a plane. I don't think any of those guys wanted to get on the plane. In their mind, they were checked out.
The only plane they wanted to get onto was
Cancun.
So they have that now. Let's talk X factors, because I think that's the big thing for this series. We know Giannis. We know Jason Tatum's got to be great.
Yeah.
What will decide this series?
Your boy Rob Williams. He had. No disrespect to your boy. He was awful, I thought, in that.
No argument here.
Okay, yeah, but our expectations are he has to, and by the way, missing all that time and getting thrown into a playoff series is not ideal either. But if Rob Williams, not on Giannis, even though I could see him guarding Giannis in the fourth quarter, he needs that lurking around the basket and challenging shots. So Giannis is the one player. So in my time in the NBA, which is now 21 years. Shaq is a player that you could play perfect defense and he can bust you for 40. Giannis is a player that you can play perfect defense and he can bust you. You can stop him at 15 and somehow he turns corner and gets a layup. Rob's going to have to be great. And then what we saw from the Celtics when they were at their best, Rob Williams on the help, next guy rotating out to the corner, next guy scrambling. Everyone talks about the Celtics on-ball defense. It's great. It's spectacular at times. But I've never seen a team scramble out of when they get in trouble like I do with the Celtics. They really react well to that. So that is going to be the key. Can Rob come in and help deter Giannis, make Giannis stink, make Giannis pass, and then can the Celtics scramble out of that and make it difficult for the Bucks? Because if you can, you win the series. If you can't, and Bucks are, getting 35, 37 threes, and 22 of them are wide open, we're not going to win the series.
Two things off of that. Do the Bucks stay big? Now, without Middleton, they've run out Portis and Giannis and Brook and been like super big. Can they get away with that against Boston? And do you let's start there. Do you expect the Bucks to stay big?
Yeah, I do. I think because see, the Bucks give up the mid-range. That's what they want to do. They want to get out on the perimeter. They want to guard the three. And they want you to challenge Lopez, who's, by the way, like I do my fair share of like doing Lopez hating because offensively, the guy's a freak of nature at the rim. He's one of the best rim protectors in the league. And it gives them versatility. Portis is a force. Giannis is a freak. Like they have all kinds of different ways to guard the rim. But I think for the Celtics and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they're going to have to read the game at a high level. When the 15-footer, the 17-foot pull-up is there, take it. When they make a mistake on you on the three, take it. When you get downhill, you can't just pass it every time. You got to have the appropriate attack mode where you can go up on those guys, but understand that if they swallow you up, you got to move that thing. And it's going to be, I think, Tatum and Brown and their reads is going to determine if Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, Grant Williams, Marcus Smart, those guys play well. It all comes down to Tatum and Brown reading the game at an extremely high level. Remember, just in your mind, think of it, 721 offensive possessions in this series. Ooh. And they're going to have to make the reads, 90% of the time, they're going to have to make the right read when they get downhill.
It's crazy. So if they do stay big, lead me through. How does do they put Rob on a perimeter player?
Yeah, Portis.
You think they'll put him on Portis?
Or whoever's Lopez in the corner, which is going to be Portis or Lopez.
And then just let him roam and do his.
Yeah, same exact thing he's been doing when he's at it. And by the way, all these disclaimers, right? I thought Rob was awful 3 years ago at reading the game defensively. Now I think he's elite. So no one goes from awful to elite. And then I just thought in that series, I didn't think he did a good job of reading that. But it's understandable. The Celtics adapted to Tice. Now they got to adapt back to Rob. The one thing that they do so well, Rob helps and next guy scrambles out of it. So no matter who's in the corner, that's who Rob is going to guard. Wow. He's going to be lurking there. And he does a great job hiding behind defenders as they elevate. Bam, gets up quicker than anybody in the NBA, lands. If the guy misses, rebounds, kicks it. So obviously that is going to be the key. I don't care, Al Horford, Grant Williams, those guys can be special on the ball and get busted for 40. But if they're special and Rob is special, we're going to win this series.
How big is the absence of Middleton?
I mean, I think it's big, but, Middleton takes advantage of smaller defenders. Like if Peyton Pritchard got switched on Middleton, even though I think Peyton Pritchard's a fantastic defender, historically speaking, you're looking at it like, man, Middleton's a killer. He's a Celtic killer. We've always had non-defenders out there.
True.
It would be Kemba or Kyrie or, you probably even throw it back to IT or, So there's always been certain guys that Middleton's been able to just go over the top on. I don't know. No one's really on this team is a weak defender. Middleton, is it a mismatch against Derek White? Maybe Peyton Pritchard. I don't think against Marcus Smart. So I think they're going to miss him, but they're different. They're way more physical. Portis and Lopez are making shots, and Giannis is going to get more possessions where he has the ball. So I think they'll miss him because he's a great player, but I don't think his mismatch, what we've seen in the past with Middleton, is as strong as it has been with this particular defensive unit.
We were talking before we started, and you said Al really stood out to you from round one because just in terms of being so much better than maybe we expected. And so how does he factor into all this? How important is he in this series being sort of the one-on-one guy with Giannis, no matter how much help he gets? And can he keep this sort of fountain of youth going? You
know what's great about he can, because did you see how the games are spaced out? So Al's going to get a chance to recover. Look, I get it. We keep harping on the 35. All year long, he's never looked old. And by the way, when he was here before, he looked older. You know what I mean? There was games
were worse.
You were looking at Al oh man, dude, this dude just looks tired today, right? So we take that narrative and we put it into this narrative, but there's never been a time where we looked at Al and said, and I was like, man, we can't play Al 33 minutes. I guess we can. he's had a fantastic year. So I don't know why I didn't expect him to level up, but he absolutely did. Why is he important? Because he's going to be on Giannis, and Giannis is going to drive and he's going to spin. And Al has like a great appropriateness of aggressive, but doesn't foul. And I think he knows, like, I have Rob Williams behind me. My job is to make it tough for Giannis to get him thinking about me so Rob can come from over the top. So, like, no one understands game plan discipline like Al Horford. So, obviously, I thought he was great in the Nets series just because anytime the Nets went small, he pounded them on the glass. It's not going to be the same thing. Yeah. It's going to be now like Al's going to have to hit shots, and he's going to get shots because they're going to overhelp. So it's going to be a different type of Al, but defensively, he's going to have to be a monster on Giannis.
I just thought the Celtics role players were phenomenal in that series.
But you know why? Because Tatum and Brown were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like I have destroyed those two for playmaking, and when people say, oh, the role players suck, I go, no. Like, I've played with stars before. When them guys are moving the ball and I'm getting it and it makes my life easier, I can be a better player than if I have to start doing stuff on my own. I have my fair share of times where I'm like, I'm not blaming this on the role player. The best players on the team have to move the ball. They start moving the ball, the role players play great. Now let's go the opposite. The role players are great. Yes, they made shots. They were great defensively, but my credit goes to Tatum and Brown. Like, I was on them when they weren't moving it. I'm going to give them the credit right now. Not that they need the credit over the bench or anything like that. But those guys, Tatum and Brown, have exceeded my all-time expectations as playmakers, both of them. And you guys are looking at me sideways. Like, I go, those guys got to average like close to 6 or 7 assists
honestly,
a game.
God, you said it. Like, I think like maybe the first preseason game
of last year.
Yeah,
I said it
right.
last year. Like, it's hard to become playmaker. I said it this year. And when we were bad, I said those guys got to do it. And Tatum was doing a good job of it. His vision has gone to another level. So those guys, and by the way, the Nets, they're garbage at the rim. Yeah. The Bucks are the best in the league. Like, maybe we're better, like we're right there, but we don't have to play against us, right? Tatum's rim reads and Brown's rim reads, they got to be spectacular. And it's not just drive and kick. You got to finish some of those over the top, and you got to bring it strong, and you got to have an aggressive mindset, but you have to be able to check off and find guys on the wing.
All right, a couple more things here. Well, how much does championship experience matter? After you'd won in 2008, do you guys have a different swagger? Now, obviously, 2009, you have KG injury, but
yeah.
How much does that matter when you're going against a team? Now, the Celtics actually are pretty flush with playoff experience now. I mean, Jason and Jalen have been through it, Al, all that. But does having been through it give any advantage or any sort of ability to the Bucks?
You know what's interesting? You know where I look at experience on the road, right? Mm-hmm. So I would be curious. I don't know off the top of my head, but you asked me this question, it's just my mind working. How many big road games, like big important road games, have Jalen and Jason won? They've had, I think they're up to 80 games, right? They played 80 games.
So you figure
how many games where you're like, it's a knockout, drag-out, dog fight?
Everything I can think of is at the Garden, like Game 7 against LeBron. I mean, they obviously lost that one.
We beat the Bucks that year. It was a 7-game series.
The other thing, bubble. Like
and
the bubble. Yeah, so they
hostile
really,
environment on the road.
Interesting.
So even though they have a ton of playoff experience, like getting over the hump on the road. So now let's go the other way. Milwaukee Bucks. I just got to mention one game. Game 5 in Phoenix. You know, it's a 2-2 game. And you saw how they executed down the stretch. Chris Paul pushing Giannis should have been a flagrant. But, you know, Steele pushing the ball, get the win, come home, close it out. So I'm not worried about any of the Celtics playing in the Garden.
Right.
I don't think that the playoff experience. When you have, if we were to drop one, you could drop a game because the Bucks have proven they can win on the road. Can we go on the road and get a win? And you know, like, I'll put the question out. Love you guys to respond. Love for you to put that out there. Respond and look it up. Like, I'm curious, what is the biggest road win that this Marcus Smart, Tatum, Brown, Horford, what's the biggest road win that we have had as a group?
It's crazy. I'm trying to think like maybe, you know, and it defaults to regular season, but in the postseason, I can't think of one where they had a must-have on the road. Although some of it, you know, maybe that Bucks series, the first year, but that was Rozier year.
No, we went 7 and we lost every.
Oh, that's right.
We won every game at home.
But I got to look it up.
Yeah,
I don't get my wheels turning.
I would be curious if not Indiana when we had that year, like that was a joke. I'm talking about like a must-win against a team that's equal or better than you. So I know what the Bucks have done. They can win games on the road. I'm just curious on this group. And maybe this is the year. Maybe you could say game 3 against the Nets. I mean, we know that team was garbage.
But still.
You know, but maybe that was the win. And by the way, great win.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the closeout game with Tatum fouls out where, you know, Smart and Jaylen Brown. Maybe that was it. Maybe they've turned the corner. But I'm curious historically, you know, like, had they won a tough road game?
It's a great question. Now I'm thinking, all right, so if you had to do your top 3 storylines, you're thinking Jason and Jaylen like rim reads.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Then the road stuff. Give me one more like wild card in this series.
What? I mean, I think it's Rob Williams.
No, I know that.
Okay.
But I'm saying, like, is there anything else that you're like, this has to happen for the Celtics to win? Anything else that we didn't touch? Like Grant's got to be great again. Batman's got to be Batman.
All that stuff is like, it's a yes. I think it comes down. I really do. And I'm going to do a breakdown that I'm sure we're going to use for digital. Like the biggest thing is this: do not let the Bucks get anything. Like they're a good team, but they can't score consistently against our half court. I can promise you that. Mm-hmm. They're great in transition. Giannis just makes something out of nothing in transition. They give him the ball and he starts getting downhill, right?
They don't have Aaron Baines anymore to make that wall. Remember that? We talked about the wall so much for like 3 years. The wall.
Every time
Can Luke Cornett give us a wall?
It's so messed up. It's so messed up that I don't think of Aaron Baines as all the thing. I always think of, man, this guy looks like all of Australia. I see him getting out of the shower. You know, like I always think of that with Tommy. But no, you're right. Like we're not built like that, but we are built. Stand him up, Rob Williams. Stand him up, Rob Williams. So that's why that becomes. Everyone talks about building a wall. Yeah, you got to build the wall. That wall is there. But Rob Williams comes from over the top. That's going to be a big key. And I go back to Tatum and Brown, rim reads. They got to be good at that. And they also got to take their fair share of pull-up jumpers, which, like, we've always been like, no, don't take the pull-up jumper no matter what. That's, like, going to be the shot that they got to embrace and take because Bucks take away the 3 off the dribble. You can get them if you move it. But they love that pull-up. They love giving up that pull-up. And Lopez and Bobby Portis and even Giannis are going to be in the drop. So that's the shot that they give up. And if you go back and look at the Bucks last year against Phoenix, when Phoenix cooked them, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, pull-up jumper right around that 13 to 17 feet.
I hope Jaylen Brown's hammy is feeling good because if he can live in that mid-range, the Celtics have a chance. It all starts Sunday, 1 o'clock. You need to be over here, NBC Sports Boston. Me and Scal will be over at the Garden for our hour-long pregame. Just hang out with us for the postgame. Come back at halftime, all those fun things.
Oh, and it's great watching him postgame. He looks like he's hosting New Year's Eve. It's great. People going nuts.
Screaming out, but I've only had happy audiences, so I'm a little bit like, I think they'll take care of business.
Will you drop your voice?
I'll be like, so the Celtics lost.
We're going to get 1 and 2. This is 5 and 7.
You still have to tune in before that.
Oh, for sure.
So, and while you're doing that, like, subscribe, keep refreshing the YouTube page. You'll see Scal's video breakdown, which he might be filming right after this. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk podcast.